Good morning, dear Dharma friends. Just remembered I meant to call my sister for her birthday yesterday. Damn. Oh well, I'll do it today. Imperfect. Today is the 2nd of March, 2022. Thank you, Jamie. Let's record.
Recording in progress.
Live to Facebook and YouTube. Live to Zoom. Anybody watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can join us live on Zoom at 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. If you go to robertbeatty.com, you can find the link there. So, it's another rainy morning here. I don't mind. Yes. I apologize. In my travels yesterday, I meant to post the link to the Brighton Bush retreat to the website, to my website, and also to the listserv, and I did neither. So I will discipline myself to do both right after we hang up. Sometimes I want to go in, I want to say goodbye to Jennifer. She's off to work, and I then don't get back to it. So this is from Wild Honey, Tough Salt, Kim Stafford's book, one of his books. I want to read 2 poems. Beside the road, while our nation is at war, a different war than this one now. It's the same war, though, isn't it? In our son's young hand, borrowed from the ground in California, 5 acorns glisten and roll. Dad, these could be bullets. Will you help me make a gun? His eyes look up into mine. Or, Dad, they could be magic seeds. Will you help me make a bag with a hole so they drop along the path and grow? I take his hand in mine. Little friend, we must decide. In our son's young hand, borrowed from the ground in California, 5 acorns glisten and roll. Dad, these could be bullets. Will you help me make a gun? His eyes look up into mine. Or, Dad, they could be magic seeds. Will you help me make a bag with a hole, so they drop along the path and grow? I take his hand in mine. Little friend, we must decide. And this is Proclamation for Peace. Whereas the world is a house on fire, whereas the nations are filled with shouting, whereas hope seems small sometimes a single bird on a wire left by migration behind, whereas kindness is seldom in the news and peace an abstraction while war is real, whereas words are all I have, whereas my life is short, whereas I am afraid, whereas I am free despite all fire and anger and fear. Be it therefore resolved, a song shall be my calling, a song not yet made shall be vocation, and peaceful words the work of my remaining days. Whereas the world is on fire, whereas the nations are filled with shouting, whereas hope seems small sometimes, a single bird on a wire left by migration behind. Whereas kindness is seldom in the news, and peace an abstraction, while war is real. Whereas words are all I have, whereas my life is short, whereas I am afraid, whereas I am free despite all fire and anger and fear. Be it therefore resolved, a song shall be my calling. A song not yet made shall be vocation, and peaceful words the work of my remaining days. My friends, let us practice peace. Let us be peaceful. What is it that we have here? What do we discover? There is a body sitting here. It is a body that exists in time. It has a beginning, a dance in the sunshine, and an ending. So we might ask ourselves, why not be here for the ride? As awesome and awful as it is. And to be here means to be really in love with everything. Means there's room for everything. So please let us notice the simple things. The contact of the buttocks and thighs with the chair. The aliveness in hands. The aliveness of face. the coming and going of the breath. There was a moment not long ago when the absence of sleep was punctuated by self-reflective consciousness. We call it waking up from sleep. There were hours, hopefully, in which there wasn't anyone here. There was just sleep. And then we say, colloquially, I woke up. We practice something very similar here. The various trance states of thinking, remembering, planning, emotions. Of course they arise. And then something miraculous happens. Awareness, mindfulness, heart mindfulness springs into being, blossoms. And so we practice creating the conditions for this mindfulness to occur. We sit here together, comfortably upright. We can attend to the in-breathing and out-breathing and notice when the mind wakes up from wandering. There's an old saying, there is no way to peace. Peace is the way. And so let us cultivate a bottomless, endless ocean of love toward this present moment. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. When I am hurting in any way, that pain in the back, that pain in the heart, that pain of fear or anger, it is my intention to hold myself in sweet, loving compassion. We may also remind ourselves of the refuges. Clearly, the world offers no refuge. Refuge in the Buddha. Call it the Christ or the Kuan Yin or the mystery. Refuge in that which is before and after all forms. Refuge in the Dharma, the exquisite path of awakening that's so clearly articulated. And Sangha. Here we are, not in the same space physically, but we are here to support one another in this going inward. If the mind is restive, it's so helpful to have in our back pocket an understanding of the 5 hindrances. Is this a mind which is restless and agitated? Is it a mind that's filled with wanting and desire, or disliking and aversion? Is it a mind that's sleepy and dull, with sloth and torpor? Is it a mind that's doubting? With the restive mind, we also might use noting to note rising, rising, falling, falling. Wandering, wandering, returning, returning. Liking, liking, disliking, disliking. Let us sit like sequoia trees. Or great Douglas fir trees, 10 feet in diameter, rooted. Let us sit like boulders, dropped here at the end of the last ice age. And from the unmoving center point, that which knows, the completely unperturbed and unperturbable presence, let us notice how the breath comes and goes. Let us notice the thoughts as if they were what they are, which is passing phenomena like clouds on a sunny afternoon. Utterly impersonal. Pains in the body. Chronic pains, more recent pains, minor pains, major pains. Abandoning all resistance. Acknowledging pain, experienced in awareness. Whatever stories are happening, arising in a vastness of awareness. Soft belly. For a little while, we borrow the constituents of a body. They come and they go. And it does seem we have some creative capacity. Let us conjure up a loving thought. What might it be? May all beings experience our lives becoming one great song or sigh of gratitude. May the peace in this heart become the peace in all hearts. May all beings be free from fear. Words might be the way it works for you, or it could be a flow of golden light or white light, or a flow of warmth from your heart around the world, touching all beings. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. And may we carry this peaceful mindfulness with us everywhere we go today, into every interaction. You will find in the chat the link to the retreat and also the link to UNICEF. If sometimes it helps to do something. The blue and gold are, of course, the Ukrainian flag. Something big is happening. May there be peace in our time. So, my friends, do sign up for the retreat in the next half hour if you want to, because I think there's only 5 places left. And I will remember to put it out on the listserv. Duh. Dare I say it? I will. There is a tentative first Sunday gathering at PIMC on the 3rd of April. So, Michael, do you have a little poem for us?
Good morning, everybody. Sometime over the past 20 years or so, when I was trying to get past one of the body blows that the world seemed to be delivering on a regular basis, I turned off all the lights in the house and lit a candle and asked out loud for something to hold on to. And almost immediately, this poem came. I wanted to share it with you this morning. This is a long story that we're living, so sometimes it feels like a feather in a hurricane, but I'd like to share it with you. And for some inexplicable reason, it's called What I Learned on My Summer Vacation. Some people say the first impulse of our nature is to be good and kind to one another. This may be what Dr. King meant when he said, evil triumphant is somehow weaker than goodness defeated. You know, the fear and violence we carry will always collapse under their own weight because there's nothing of substance supporting them. And when that happens, what's left standing is the love we're made of. These are hard times. So I was thinking, while we turn to the hardships we've been given, may we also remember that love prevails.
Thank you, Michael. So, dear friends, is there anything you'd like to share? When I lean in a little bit, I can see you better. I like that.
Robert,
I hear a voice.
it's Pamela.
Hello, Pamela. Looking for you.
I have a question of clarification.
There you are. I see you now. Hi.
Hi. A while ago, you shared a story about yourself in a workshop. And I think that Ruth was leading the workshop. And there was someone that shared a very painful message, very painful story. And you had a lot of sorrow for her and a lot of emotion with it. And Ruth apparently talked to you afterwards and said, don't go there. I don't know if you remember this story.
Oh. Yes, I do.
Okay, so I don't know what exactly she meant. And I also, and in our times now, don't know the difference between, can you have compassion without emotion? What's the relationship between emotion and compassion?
It was a Stephen Levine workshop. And a woman over there told a story, an awful story of the death of a child through violence. And my instinct at that point was, an impulse of sadness arose. And so I let her rip, and I was sobbing. And I felt cleansed afterwards. And it was that night that Ruth said, darling, what were you doing in there? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, when I said, well, I was crying, that story was so touching. And she said, yes, but you looked so comfortable. And she was right. That was a comfortable place for me. I had learned how to do that. I was totally out of touch with my anger, But I had learned how to sob well, deeply. And when my dog Budo died, it happened then again. I did some deep sobbing and raging. But I asked her, of course, what do you mean? And she said, well, I said, what else might I do? And she said, the next time that impulse arises in you, you might simply stay quiet and don't open that door. Don't go there. And so the next day I had an opportunity. Those workshops were amazingly heavy. And I had an opportunity, and the door was very clear, feeling in my throat. And I didn't go there. I just stayed present. And a different experience happened than I had ever had, which was that I was very attentive and aware of the suffering around me. And I wasn't, in a way, distracted by my own emotionality. I was actually present. And I would say it was the first glimpse of compassion of a different order than I had ever had before. Now, since then, it's a long time ago, I have sat with individuals. I've done a lot of work, of trauma work with people. For a long time, I was pretty focused on eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. And I have sat with people through them being in extraordinary anguish. And how I was really useful to them was that I didn't go on their emotional journey with them. I stayed stable. And they had someone, I would say that they had the Buddha present. They had another presence that could support them, even hold their hand, while they went into the darkest experiences of I'd say the darkest places that human beings go. And so I think of compassion and empathy as companions or synonyms, sort of. And to be compassionate or empathic is to truly understand, use an old term you might remember, to grok, to really get the pain, but not have to become emotional with it. In my role as a therapist teacher, had I become emotional with them, I believe it would have been a great disservice, because they would not have been able to go where they went without a stable place. Now, what is it? The indirect enemy of compassion is not caring. And it's not that. It's not hard-heartedness. It's something else. Now, there's one other thread I want to see if I can pull. The dukkha, the suffering in the world, is massive beyond anything we can imagine. And part of as I understand it, the teaching of the Buddha is to open to more and more, these days the word that's coming to my mind, of the horrors of the world. and to stay stable. When I talked, it's another whole. Several years ago, Joanna Macy came to town on her last trip to Portland. And I've known Joanna for 25 years or so. And anyway, there's a whole preamble, but I won't tell you that. And I was at that point feeling hopeless about the world. And at lunchtime, I went up and I sat down at her feet. I put one hand in her hands and one hand on her foot. And I said, Joanna, sometimes I'm losing hope. I think it may be over for us humans. You know, I did a master's in environmental studies. I completed it in 1974, and the world looked pretty hopeless then environmentally. So I said, and she kind of laughed and said, you know, Robert, the Buddha was never big on hope. Not part of the teachings, really. And then, however, she said, and what if it is, in fact, the end of the human experiment? Aren't you in a perfect place to help people become more and more loving and compassionate as it ends? And then she pointed over to, there's a Jizo statue, little Japanese statue in the corner at PIMC by the altar. And she said, in the Tibetan practice, he is some other name, and he takes birth in the deepest of the hells. It's got a name. And he knows, and you know, you can't save anybody. But he goes there to be a light of compassion in the midst of the most awful suffering. And I don't think he goes to sobbing when someone is talking about the horrible death of their child. I think he's open-hearted and loving, and he realizes this is the way of the world. It's not the only way of the world. There's tremendous love and kindness and generosity. There's UNICEF. But these, I mean, can I say this? I'm meeting this afternoon with a man from another country, far away, whose beautiful daughter just died she hemorrhaged after cervical cancer. She has a 10-month-old baby. This is horrible, right? And this is not an isolated case. All over the world, I just remembered, when Ruth Dennison did a little baby blessing for my son Luke, who's now 40, she said, welcome to the dukkha planet. You little bundle of dukkha. So, what do you think of all that, Pamela?
That helps. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know whether it's because I'm getting older, and I certainly am. I'm going to be 75 at Christmas. But I really have the sense that I've done so much to avoid the realization of dukkha. And the more that I acknowledge the truth of it, the first noble truth, the more happy I am in a way, or the more content I am. To stop running is such a relief. I don't claim to have stopped, but to be moving in the direction of awakening really is such a relief. Just occurred to me this morning again that maybe in early April I'll offer a retreat at PIMC, basically modeled on Joanna Macy's despair and empowerment workshops, where we can gather together. And I don't think it will be telecast. I think I'd be concerned about doing that, but where we can open up and express the grief, the hopelessness and the despair, to let that really take voice. And then to find the place in the midst of that where compassion exists, and to let ourselves stand up in the midst of what's happening with love for each other and compassion in our hearts. I think maybe I can do that. Be good for me.
Hi, Robert. It's Joy.
It's Joy. You're still blurry.
Yeah. I just had a question about compassion. I haven't sent a sympathy card to my father's wife because I just don't want to open any kind of relationship with her.
Uh-huh.
I know that she must be suffering. But she's kind of a master of guilt, and it seems hard-hearted not to extend some sympathy or compassion, but she's so afflictive that I just don't think I can cope with it.
You're already extending compassion. Listen to the way you're talking.
I know, but I don't want to. If I send her a card, I'm afraid she'll start phoning me and once again explaining how horrible we all were.
Right. So you don't have to send a card.
Oh, good.
But you're feeling the compassion right now.
Well, they could have had such a much happier life.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Yeah.
I mean, it seemed to me that a lot of their unhappiness was related to their own actions, not what the world was inflicting on them.
Yeah, I resemble that remark.
Well, I see it. I see it too in myself too, and
yeah,
I'm much saner now, and less likely to do horrible things.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Okay, so I hear you. It's okay for now. I was thinking about the right action arising, and how it helps sometimes to just wait.
Well, and maybe there's nothing to do. Maybe it's done.
Yeah.
We have so many shoulds of how we should be, and
Right.
Mm-hmm. You could send her a lump of coal.
Anyway, I was just thinking, she's probably thinking even more horrible thoughts about us, but maybe it doesn't matter.
Does it matter what she's thinking about you? If you don't have to hear it.
No, I don't. I guess not. No.
It's good to think we can think things like that through really clearly. And if she's in hell, she's in hell, and that's her hell. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to join her.
No, and I don't think I could pull her out of it either.
Oh, you could try. Maybe you could go see her. Take her a box of chocolates or something. Laura Secord. Do Laura Secord chocolates still exist in Canada?
Yes, but that's a terrifying thought, actually.
Right, of course. Well, you'd have to wear body armor.
By the way, stranger in a strange land or the word grok comes from stranger in a strange land.
I know.
From Robert Heinlein, and we're all kind of strangers in a strange land.
Yeah, we are.
Anyway, thank you.
Hi, Joy. This is Rob. I just want to say sometimes in my work environment, I use that term and then I actually have to explain it to the kids, and I feel very old.
I know. I guess we're all on the same page here. age-wise. I like the word grok is so, it's so captures exactly what it means.
Right.
Anyway, thank you.
Hey, Rob. It's not that you feel old. You are old.
Well, as I said to one of the other kids yesterday, yeah, it sucks getting old, but it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, that's true.
It's Kat. Joy, I've heard, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I've heard a really lovely modification of sort of the meta of may you be happy, may you be at peace, may you be free from suffering, far, far away from me. That might be helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes. Well, I do wish her well.
I know.
I think she suffered unnecessarily for years and years.
Yeah.
But anyway, my father's suffering is done.
Amen.
So that's good.
Well, folks, I need to go fairly soon. Anybody sitting with something you really want to share or need to share? Thanks for being here.
I don't know. I just want to say, wouldn't it be possible, Joy, to send her a card to say that I'm thinking of you and I imagine you're suffering, and this is not an opening of a door between us. I don't want you to reach out to me back,
Wow.
but I feel for your situation and I'm thinking of you.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know.
I think I'll just wait and see what action comes up. Maybe something will happen. I don't know. We have the whole memorial thing to go through as well. Thank you.
Hi, it's Birch. Thank you, Joy, and thank you for this conversation. It's just bringing up a moment when I lost one of my fathers about 10 years ago. And his wife, my stepmother, was, I would have called my abuser, the family abuser. She was quite violent when we were growing up. And after, just so many things change after a death. The absence is filled up with possibilities in a new way, and the secrets and the stories can come out. And I just want to acknowledge that this woman and I actually have unexpectedly, miraculously, quite a dear relationship. We chat maybe once or twice a year, but it was profound. It was a profound experience to just hold the space where detachment was nourishing and let the absence and the space, and I think this is where I'm just resonating with you, Joy, is just in that absence and the decision to make some space, possibilities can emerge. That compassion can just be on the edge of the circle for ourselves, myself, and ourselves, and then something else is possible without having to make a decision what that is.
Thank you. Wow. I think things can arise that are completely unexpected and life-changing in a positive way that we can't imagine at the moment where we are, but I've experienced some really amazing magic and transformations. So that's a nice thought.
Thank you, Birch. A lovely voice of compassionate presence. Well, let us go out on a song. The PIMC Tabernacle Choir, with all of our rich harmonies and dissonances. It's like Gregorian chant. So please unmute if you wish, and Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, dear friends.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you,
May you
Sangha.
have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to be with you. So farewell, friends.